Hello, welcome to Earth Angel Activities. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for you guys today. I had planned a reading. I recorded a reading and it was not postable. So I'll be back with a reading maybe tonight or maybe a message in the morning. I don't know, maybe I'll share the message that I get in the morning because I get some pretty deep stuff in the morning, so maybe, we'll see. However the spirit leads, you know. But this book that I wanted to talk about today is If Beale Street Could Talk. And it was written by James Baldwin. And I want to say the publication date was in the 70s as well. This book was a very short yet interesting read. And to be honest with you, I had never been more invested in characters than I was in Tish, okay? So the book is basically written as one sustained thought by Tish. It's only 2 chapters and it's like 197 pages. And Tish she is a young woman in Harlem in the 1970s. And I guess for me to read this book, knowing that I was born in the early 80s, right? And to hear this and then to think about my grandparents, because James Baldwin was born in 1926, 1924. They say it in here. He was born in 1924. So he was a little bit older than my granddaddy, you know, and so just a little bit, just a smidge, okay, just a smidge. But my grandfather was the type of man that I had so much respect for. My grandfather was like a father to me. You know, he had a gentle care about his soul. He had this love about him, and I felt that as I was reading this book. I felt like this was the type of story that my grandfather or my grandmother would have told me. But to see the date, 1970, and to put it into perspective in that way, it really made me feel for these characters. Because in the 1970s, I did a little bit of research after I read the book. The 1970s, that was the time when there was like this boom of mass incarcerations, false mass incarcerations in the United States. And black men were unfairly affected by that incarceration boom, okay? And so it was a very emotional read, to say the least. I mean, you're going with Tish, and I can tell you that she's pregnant because you find that out within like the first 5 pages, right? You find that out within the first 5 pages that she is pregnant and that Fonnie, her love, they got him. He has been taken to jail. And you walk side by side Tish. You hear her feelings. You see what's going on with the families. You see how race is playing a role through literally everything, depending on where they are and who they're dealing with. Because there are a lot of people, different nationalities within this book, that you feel that they're like family too. You're not envisioning their race, their color, until maybe the dialogue jars you to remember that they don't look like Tish and they don't look like Fonnie. You know, some of the ways that he writes in this book, it is designed to make you feel. It's imperfect. You hear somewhat of an old school tone, an old school dialect, like you can hear grandma and grandpa talking, you know. And I want to read 2 things to you, okay? Okay, I was about to say, where's my note card? I want to read 2 things to you. 2 things that affected me deeply. I won't read them all. But this is in the very beginning. And it starts on page 7. And I'm going to read down to here. Okay, so I'm going to read all of this and that top. All right. It says, this is Tish when she's on the bus. She just left from visiting Fonnie. This is the first visit that the book describes, okay? So, being in trouble can have a funny effect on the mind. I don't know if I can explain this. You go through days and you seem to be hearing people and you seem to be talking to them and you seem to be doing your work, or at least your work gets done. But you haven't seen or heard a soul, and if someone asked you what you have done that day, you'd have to think a while before you could answer. But at the same time, and even on the self-same day, and this is what is hard to explain, you see people like you've never seen them before. They shine as bright as a razor. And maybe it's because you see people differently than you saw them before your trouble started. Maybe you wonder about them more, but in a different way, and this makes them very strange to you. Maybe you get scared and numb because you don't know if you can depend on people for anything anymore. And even if they wanted to do something, what could they do? And I can't say to anybody in this bus, look, Fonnie is in trouble. He's in jail. Can you imagine what anybody on this bus would say to me if they knew from my mouth that I love somebody that is in jail? And I know he's never committed any crime and he's a beautiful person. Please help me get him out. Can you imagine what anybody on this bus would say? What would you say? I can't say I'm going to have this baby and I'm scared too. And I don't want anything to happen to my baby's father. Don't let him die in prison. Please, oh please. You can't say that. That means you can't really say anything. Trouble means you're alone. You sit down and you look out the window and you wonder if you're going to spend the rest of your life going back and forth on this bus. And if you do, what's going to happen to your baby? What's going to happen to Fonnie? And if you ever did like the city, you don't like it anymore. If we ever get out of this, I swear I'll never set foot in downtown New York again. After I read that, I had to put the book down. That's only on page 9, the top of page 9. I had to put the book down. I felt this swelling inside of my spirit, and it just made me feel a fullness in a way that I've never experienced it before. It made me think of my mother in a way that I've never thought of her before. It made me think of my father, my dad, in a way that I had never thought of him before, like the time of growing up in that time and space, and what type of effect it could possibly have on the mind. You know, my mother grew up in the South, so her experience was more significant, you know, and I hear them talking about it, and of course, you know, history and everything like that, but when you think about it, when you read a book like this, I had seen where another lady had read Rosa Parks, and so I'm going to put that one on my list, but I thought I was going to be able to back them, but I can't, because I still am feeling Fonnie and Tish, you know. There is spice in this book, if that matters, but it's on a different level. It doesn't hit the same. It hits much different. It hits in a different part of the soul, a different part of the brain. And yeah, so it's one more. I call this one Bodyguard. I'm going to read this one, and this is on page 136. And she's going back and forth, you know, from the now to memories with Fonnie. She's going back and forth. So on page 136, she's at a market in an Italian restaurant. In an Italian neighborhood. Okay, so that's the setting. She's at buying tomatoes from an Italian market in an Italian neighborhood. All right. So this Italian guy comes up messing with her. And I just want to take you through a bit of her thought process. It's not that much. So she says, I tried to move, but the boy blocked my way. I looked around for someone to help me. People were staring, but no one moved. I decided in despair to call the cop. But when I moved, the boy grabbed my arm. He was really probably just a broken down junkie, but when he grabbed my arm, I slapped his face and I spat in it too. And exactly at that moment, Fonnie entered the store. Fonnie grabbed the boy by the hair, knocked him to the ground, picked him up and kicked him in the balls and dragged him to the sidewalk and knocked him down again. I screamed and held on to Fonnie with all my might, for I saw that the cop, who had been on the other far side of the corner, was now crossing the street on the run, and the white boy lay bleeding and retching in the gutter. And I was sure that the cop intended to kill Fonnie, but he could not kill Fonnie. Because if I could keep my body between Fonnie and this cop. But he could not kill Fonnie if I could keep my body between Fonnie and this cop. And with all my strength, with all my love, my prayers, and armed with the knowledge that Fonnie was not, after all, going to knock me down to the ground, I held the back of my head against Fonnie's chest, held both his wrists between my two hands, and looked up into the face of this cop. I said, that man there attacked me. Right in the store. Right now. Everybody saw it. No one said a word. So, I loved this book. I absolutely did love it. I was in the middle of reading a love song for Ricky Wilde, and I had ordered this book. Like, this book I ordered long before I ordered this book. This book was just like a standby book for me to read while I waited on my other books to come in, because I had never heard of Tia Williams before. But I did find it interesting that in the middle of reading this book, which is a very good book, it's a good book. I'm just not a romance girly. This is my first romance that I'm reading. This is my second, but this one was more than a romance, okay? So when I got into the middle, this book came in, so I stopped, and it was so freaky because for James Baldwin, born in the 1920s, this book flashes back and forth between the 1920s and the 2020s. So I was like, freaky alignment of books right there, okay? Freaky alignment of books. But I loved it. It was a good reprieve for a moment. Really helped to put more of this book into perspective, honestly. So I'm excited to get back to this. But this book here by James Baldwin, he just did such a beautiful job of telling this story. And I don't want to spoil it for you, okay? I do not want to spoil it for you. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I will say that if you are trying to understand your parents maybe and their political views or their spiritual views, or maybe why they are the way that they are, if they were raised in a certain area, or if they were raised in the South, or in a space where they were highly affected by these mass incarcerations, like in Harlem. I want to say that a lot of the major cities were, but I don't know for sure. But this book right here, it really helped to put into perspective the lives of my grandparents, as well as the childhood, the upbringing of my mom. Okay, so anyway, if you read this book, let me know how you felt about it, because honestly, I cried several times throughout this book. I probably could have read this book quicker than I did. It was a day read. It was only like 197 pages, so it's a day read. I probably could have gotten through this a lot faster had I not cried as many times as I did had I not taken a time to pause, self-reflect, ask questions, look up information about that time, So this right here is a read to remember. You will not ever forget Tish and Fonnie if you read this book. So anyway, so hopefully if you read it, you'll let me know. And I will be back with another review, another reading, another message, all that good stuff in a little bit. All right. Don't know when it will be, but it will be soon. It will be soon, because I felt some strong messages coming in earlier today. As a matter of fact, it's just that there was this calling to be still today. I don't know if you guys felt that today, but I definitely felt a calling to be still. And when you get that calling to be still and you don't, yeah, you know how it goes. So anyway, I will be talking to you guys soon. So until then, continue to vibrate love and vibrate well. Peace.